used by black families in their homes in the 1970s that have completely disappeared today. The 1970s were filled with objects that defined daily life in black households across America. These weren't just things. They were pieces of a cultural moment, items that carried meaning, memories, and stories. Walk into any black home during that decade and you'd find the same familiar objects, each serving a purpose that went beyond function. But time moved on. Technology changed, and one by one, these everyday items vanished from our homes. Some were replaced by modern alternatives. Others simply became obsolete. Looking back, these objects tell the story of how black families lived, what they valued, and how much has changed in just a few generations. Here are 25 items that were everywhere in black homes during the 1970s, but have now disappeared completely. The rotary telephone in the kitchen that everyone in the family shared. There was one phone in the house, and it sat in the kitchen or hallway where everyone could hear your conversations. The rotary dial made satisfying clicking sounds as you turned it, and if you messed up a number, you had to start over completely. The phone had a long, curly cord that kids would stretch across the room, trying to find privacy for their conversations. Party lines were still common in some neighborhoods, meaning you might pick up and hear your neighbor's conversation already in progress. Phone calls were events, not casual check-ins. You didn't call someone just to say hello. You called for a reason. Teenagers spent hours on the phone with the cord stretched into closets or bathrooms, whispering to friends while parents yelled about tying up the line. Phone numbers were memorized, not stored in contacts. Everyone knew their best friend's number by heart. The phone bill came once a month, and long-distance calls cost extra, so you watched the clock when talking to relatives in other states. That rotary phone represented connection before the internet, before cell phones, before texting. For black families in the 1970s, that single shared telephone was the household's link to the outside world, and everyone had to negotiate time on it. The console television set that was also a piece of furniture. Television sets in the 1970s weren't mounted on walls. They were massive wooden cabinets that doubled as living room furniture. These console TVs weighed hundreds of pounds and sat on the floor with space on top for family photos, plants, and decorative items. The screen was small compared to the cabinet size, and the picture came in just a few channels that you changed by turning a dial. No remote control meant kids were the remote, constantly getting up to adjust the channel or the rabbit ear antennas. The TV took a few minutes to warm up after you turned it on, with the picture slowly appearing from a tiny dot in the center. Families gathered around this television for specific shows because there was no recording or streaming. If you missed it, you missed it. The wood cabinet matched other furniture, and the TV was often the centerpiece of the living room. When it broke, repairmen came to the house with tubes and tools to fix it. These weren't disposable items you replaced every few years. Families kept the same console TV for a decade or more. For black families in the 1970s, that console television was where they watched Soul Train, Good Times, and Roots together, creating shared cultural moments that defined the era. The record player and stacks of vinyl albums stored in wooden crates. Music in the 1970s meant vinyl records, and every black household had a turntable and a growing collection of albums. Records were stored carefully in wooden crates or on shelves, organized by artist or genre. The ritual of playing music involved selecting an album, removing it from its sleeve, placing it on the turntable, and carefully lowering the needle onto the spinning vinyl. The sound that came through speakers was warm and rich, with occasional pops and crackles that became part of the experience. Kids learned early not to touch the grooved surface of records and to hold them only by the edges. Albums came with artwork and liner notes that people actually read while listening. Scratched records skipped, repeating the same phrase over and over until someone bumped the needle forward. Favorite albums were played so many times the grooves wore down. The collection told the story of the family's musical taste: Parliament Funkadelic, Earth, Wind and Fire, Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, and Aretha Franklin. parties meant someone was the designated DJ, flipping records and keeping the music going. For black families in the 1970s, vinyl records weren't just about music. They were about ritual, care, and the physical act of choosing what to play and experiencing it fully. The sewing machine in the corner that mothers used constantly. Nearly every black household had a sewing machine, and mothers used it regularly to make and mend clothes, curtains, and household items. The machine sat on a dedicated table or cabinet, sometimes covered when not in use. The sound of the sewing machine meant someone was working, creating or fixing something the family needed. Mothers made dresses, shirts, and pants from patterns and fabric bought at the fabric store. They let out hems as kids grew and took them in when clothes were handed down. Patches were sewn onto worn knees. Tears were mended before they became holes. The sewing machine represented self-sufficiency and economy, allowing families to create and maintain their wardrobes without constantly buying new items. Daughters learned to sew by watching their mothers, eventually making their own clothes and developing skills that would last a lifetime. The machine required maintenance, with mothers carefully oiling parts and changing needles. Bobbins were wound by hand, and the whole process took patience and skill. Some women became so proficient, they made clothes for neighbors and relatives, earning extra money with their talent. For black families in the 1970s, the sewing machine was both a practical tool and a symbol of resourcefulness, representing the ability to create something from almost nothing. Encyclopedia sets displayed in the living room bookshelf. Before the internet, knowledge came from books, and encyclopedia sets were prized possessions in black households. These matching volumes sat on living room shelves, their spines showing alphabetical order from A to Z. Kids used them for homework, looking up countries, historical figures, animals, and scientific concepts. Parents saved money to buy these sets, sometimes through door-to-door salesmen who offered payment plans. World Book and Encyclopedia Britannica were the most popular brands, with their distinctive bindings recognizable in any home. The encyclopedia represented investment in education and belief in the importance of knowledge. Families who owned a complete set took pride in it, dusting the volumes regularly and making sure they were properly organized. Looking something up meant pulling out the heavy volume, finding the entry, and reading carefully because there was no quick search function. The information was fixed, printed years before, but it was trusted and authoritative. Kids learned research skills by using the index and cross-references to find related topics. For black families in the 1970s, encyclopedia sets were more than reference materials. They were symbols of aspiration, education, and the determination to give children access to knowledge. The icebox-style cooler sitting on the back porch for extra drinks. Many black families kept an old-fashioned ice chest or cooler on the back porch or in the garage for storing extra sodas, juice, and beer during warm months. These weren't electric. They were insulated boxes where you added ice to keep things cold. On hot summer days, kids would grab cold drinks from the porch cooler while adults restocked it with fresh ice from the store. Block ice lasted longer than bags of cubes, and families knew which stores sold the best ice. The cooler supplemented the kitchen refrigerator, which was usually packed with regular groceries. During cookouts and family gatherings, the porch cooler was headquarters for beverages, with people constantly opening it to grab cold drinks. Melted ice water accumulated at the bottom, and someone had to tip the cooler over to drain it out. These coolers were practical solutions before everyone had large refrigerators with ice makers. They represented the informal, outdoor lifestyle of summer gatherings, where people spilled out of the house onto porches and yards. For black families in the 1970s, the porch cooler was part of the warm weather routine, a simple appliance that kept drinks cold and people refreshed during long, hot days. The metal milk box sitting outside the front door. In some neighborhoods, especially in the early 1970s, milkmen still delivered fresh bottles to homes in the early morning. Black families would leave empty glass bottles in the metal milk box outside, and the milkmen would replace them with fresh milk, leaving a bill tucked under the lid. The milk came in glass bottles with cardboard caps, and the cream rose to the top, forming a thick layer that had to be shaken back in. Kids loved the novelty of fresh milk delivery, and sometimes waited to see the milkman's truck in the early morning. The metal box kept the milk cool and protected from the sun until someone brought it inside. This service gradually disappeared as supermarkets became more convenient and home refrigerators got bigger. The empty milk boxes sat unused for years on front porches before families finally threw them out or repurposed them. For Black families in the 1970s, milk delivery represented a time when neighborhoods operated differently, with services coming to your door and personal relationships between customers and delivery men. The pressure cooker that whistled and scared the kids. Pressure cookers were essential kitchen tools in Black households during the 1970s, allowing mothers to cook tough cuts of meat quickly and tenderize them perfectly. These metal pots with locking lids and pressure valves sat on stovetops, building up steam until the valve released with a loud, high-pitched whistle that made kids jump. The sound meant dinner was almost ready and that you should stay away from the stove. Pressure cookers turned oxtails, pot roast, and tough chicken into tender, falling-apart meals in a fraction of the time regular cooking took. They required respect and careful handling because the pressure and steam were dangerous if not properly managed. Mothers understood the timing perfectly, knowing exactly when to turn down the heat and when to release the pressure. The pots were heavy, with thick bottoms that distributed heat evenly. Some families still have their mothers' or grandmothers' pressure cookers, now vintage items that remind them of weeknight dinners and Sunday meals. For Black families in the 1970s, the pressure cooker was kitchen technology that saved time and fuel costs while producing meals that tasted like they'd been cooking all day. The wall-mounted can opener permanently attached in the kitchen. Electric can openers mounted on kitchen walls were standard equipment in Black households during the 1970s. These devices had a lever you pressed down to activate the spinning blade that opened cans. You'd position the can, press the lever, and the opener would do the work while making a grinding, whirring sound. The magnet on the blade held the lid once it was cut free. These wall-mounted openers were built to last, with metal construction that survived decades of daily use. Kids were fascinated by them, and sometimes opened cans just to watch the mechanism work. When the blade got dull, you'd replace it, rather than replacing the whole unit. The wall mount meant the opener never got lost in drawers or cluttered on counters. It had its designated spot, always ready to open vegetables, fruits, soups, and other canned goods that were staples of 1970s cooking. For Black families during that era, the wall-mounted can opener represented permanent kitchen infrastructure, appliances that were installed and expected to work for years. The transistor radio kept in the kitchen or bathroom. Small portable radios ran on batteries and brought music and news into every room of the house. These transistor radios were palm-sized, usually covered in leather or plastic, with a telescoping antenna that you extended for better reception. They sat on kitchen counters during meal preparation, in bathrooms during morning routines, and on nightstands for falling asleep. The sound quality was tinny, but adequate for following your favorite DJs and hearing the latest hits. Black radio stations were cultural lifelines, playing soul, funk, and R&B, while DJs talked about community events and news that mainstream media ignored. Mothers listened to the radio while cooking dinner, singing along to songs they loved. Kids fell asleep to the sound of late-night radio shows, the voices and music drifting through the darkness. Batteries died frequently, and someone was always making a store run for replacements. Some radios picked up AM and FM bands, while others only got one or the other. For Black families in the 1970s, transistor radios represented portable entertainment and connection to Black culture through music and community broadcasting. The TV dinner trays that folded up for storage. Metal TV trays with folding legs were essential furniture for families who ate while watching television. These trays had decorative tops, often with floral or scenic designs, and they stored flat against the wall when not in use. During dinner, family members would set up their trays in front of the TV, balancing plates of food while watching their favorite shows. The trays were lightweight but sturdy, with rubber-tipped legs that prevented scratching the floor. Kids learned to be careful because bumping a TV tray could send dinner flying. Sets usually came with 4 trays and a storage rack, matching pieces that stayed together for years. TV trays represented the casual dining culture of the 1970s, when families increasingly ate in front of the television rather than at the formal dining table. They were practical for homes where space was limited, and the dining room was reserved for special occasions. For Black families during that decade, TV trays meant comfort, convenience, and the ability to enjoy meals while watching Soul Train or Good Times together. The Tupperware Collection proudly displayed in kitchen cabinets. Tupperware parties were social events where Black women gathered to see new products and purchase colorful, airtight containers. These plastic bowls, cups, and storage containers with the famous burping seal were everywhere in 1970s kitchens. Mothers had specific Tupperware pieces for specific uses: the large bowl for mixing, the rectangular container for leftovers, the pitcher for juice. The colors were bright: orange, yellow, green, and brown, and the pieces were durable enough to last decades. Matching lids were critical, and losing one was a minor tragedy. Tupperware organized refrigerators and cabinets, keeping food fresh and preventing spills. The containers went to school with lunches, to work with leftovers, and to potlucks with contributions. They represented quality and investment because Tupperware wasn't cheap, but it lasted forever. Some families still have pieces from the 1970s, now vintage collectibles. The brand became synonymous with food storage, and saying, "Put it in Tupperware," meant sealing it properly. For Black families in the 1970s, Tupperware collections represented modern kitchen organization and the social bonds formed at home parties where women supported each other's businesses. The aluminum foil on the rabbit ear antennas for better TV reception. Television antennas called rabbit ears sat on top of TV sets, and everyone had tricks for improving reception. Aluminum foil wrapped around the antennas was the most common solution, somehow strengthening the signal and reducing static. Kids were often recruited to stand and hold the antenna in a specific position, while parents determined if the picture improved. Moving the antenna even slightly could change everything. So once you found the right position, you didn't touch it. Some families combined foil with wire coat hangers for even better reception. The goal was getting the picture clear enough to watch, even if it meant one antenna pointing left and one pointing right at odd angles. During important shows, families became very protective of the antenna position, warning everyone not to bump the TV or walk in front of it. Bad weather meant poor reception, with picture rolling or horizontal lines crossing the screen. For Black families in the 1970s, antenna adjustment was part of the TV watching experience, and everyone had their theory about what worked best. The decorative plastic covers on furniture to keep it clean. Plastic slipcovers protected sofas and chairs in Black living rooms throughout the 1970s. These clear, crinkly covers kept furniture looking new by preventing stains, wear, and pet damage. The plastic was uncomfortable in summer when skin stuck to it and made embarrassing squeaking sounds when you shifted position. But mothers insisted on them because furniture was an investment that needed to last. The good furniture with the plastic covers was for company and special occasions, not for everyday lounging. Kids knew not to sit on the covered furniture unless specifically invited. Some families had patterns of flowers or designs printed on their plastic covers, making them slightly more decorative. Removing the covers meant something important was happening: a holiday, a party, or important guests. The plastic itself yellowed with age and eventually needed replacing, but underneath, the furniture remained pristine. For Black families in the 1970s, plastic furniture covers represented pride of ownership and the determination to maintain what you worked hard to buy. The manual typewriter for school reports and letters. Before personal computers, typed documents required a manual or electric typewriter. These machines sat on desks or tables, heavy and substantial. Manual typewriters required physical force to press the keys, leaving impressions on paper through an inked ribbon. Mistakes meant using correction fluid or starting over completely. Kids learned to type on these machines, developing skills that would be useful their entire lives. The sound of typing was loud and rhythmic, with a satisfying ding at the end of each line and the manual carriage return. Changing the ribbon was a messy process that left fingers covered in ink. Multiple copies required carbon paper inserted between sheets. Typewriters represented serious work and official correspondence. For Black families in the 1970s, owning a typewriter meant valuing education and professional presentation. The amber-colored glass dishes that came free with gas station purchases. Gas stations gave away collectible glassware with fill-ups, and Black families accumulated complete sets over time. These amber, green, or brown glasses, bowls, and plates weren't fancy, but they were functional and matched. Mothers liked getting something extra for purchases they were making anyway. The glassware became everyday dishes, used for meals and stored in kitchen cabinets. Some families still have pieces from these collections, now retro curiosities. The colors were typical of 1970s design, earth tones that matched the era's aesthetic. For Black families, these promotional items represented getting value and building a household one free glass at a time. The collection of S&H Green Stamps saved in books. S&H Green Stamps were rewards given at grocery stores and gas stations. Customers saved stamps in booklets and redeemed full books for merchandise from catalogs. Black mothers carefully licked and stuck stamps into books, accumulating enough to get toasters, lamps, or small appliances. Kids helped organize stamps and counted books to see how close they were to getting the desired item. The stamp catalog was studied carefully, with families planning what they'd redeem next. This system rewarded loyal customers and allowed families to acquire household items without direct cash purchases. The stamps became currency of their own, sometimes traded between friends and neighbors. For Black families in the 1970s, S&H Green Stamps represented patient saving and deferred gratification that resulted in tangible rewards. The Avocado Green or Harvest Gold kitchen appliances. The 1970s had distinctive color schemes, and kitchen appliances came in Avocado Green, Harvest Gold, or Burnt Orange. Refrigerators, stoves, dishwashers, and small appliances all matched in these earthy tones that defined the era. These colors were everywhere, considered modern and stylish at the time. Black families who remodeled or bought new appliances chose these popular colors that showed their homes were current and fashionable. The colors eventually became dated and were replaced by white and stainless steel. But during the 1970s, a Harvest Gold refrigerator was a point of pride. For Black families, these colored appliances represented keeping up with trends and maintaining an updated modern home. The metal ice cube trays with levers you pulled to crack the ice. Before automatic ice makers, ice came from metal trays filled with water and placed in the freezer. When you needed ice, you twisted the lever, cracking the cubes free from the tray. This process required force and technique, and kids often struggled to get it right. The metal trays developed frost buildup and needed occasional defrosting. Making ice meant planning ahead because refilling trays took hours to freeze. Parties required multiple trays and constant refilling. These simple devices served every household before ice makers became standard. For Black families in the 1970s, metal ice trays were kitchen basics that everyone knew how to use. To the kitchen counter. Mothers ground meat at home using mechanical grinders that clamped to countertops. These cast iron devices turned tough cuts into ground meat, perfect for burgers and meatloaf. Someone turned the crank while another fed meat into the top. This labor-intensive process saved money over buying pre-ground meat. The grinder required careful cleaning and occasional sharpening, but lasted generations. For Black families, the meat grinder represented self-sufficiency and control over food quality. The prayer plant or fern hanging in macrame holders near windows. Houseplants hung in elaborate macrame holders were essential 1970s decor. Spider plants, ferns, and prayer plants thrived in these woven holders, adding natural beauty to homes. The macrame itself was often handmade, with intricate knots and patterns. Plants hung in windows, catching sunlight while adding life to living spaces. Mothers tended these plants carefully, watering and trimming regularly. The combination of plants and macrame represented the era's embrace of natural elements in home design. For Black families, these hanging plants showed care for the home and connection to living things. The fondue pot used for special occasions and dinner parties. Fondue sets were popular entertaining tools where guests dipped bread, vegetables, or meat into melted cheese or chocolate. These sets came with long forks and a heating element to keep the pot warm. Black families brought out the fondue pot for special dinners and celebrations, making the meal interactive and fun. The Swiss-inspired tradition fit the 1970s interest in international cuisine and social dining. Cheese fondue was sophisticated entertainment for adults, while chocolate fondue delighted children. For Black families, the fondue pot represented hosting and hospitality. The decorative tins that held sewing supplies instead of cookies. Danish butter cookie tins were repurposed as sewing kits in almost every Black household. Opening one expecting cookies only to find thread, needles, and buttons was a universal disappointment. These metal tins with decorative lids were perfect for organizing sewing notions and were too useful to throw away. Mothers accumulated several, each holding different supplies. The tins represented practical reuse and organization, turning packaging into long-term storage. For Black families in the 1970s, cookie tins full of sewing supplies were so common, they became a cultural inside joke. The wooden rulers and yardsticks from local businesses used for discipline. Promotional rulers and yardsticks from banks, hardware stores, and local businesses hung in Black homes and served double duty as measuring tools and discipline implements. These wooden sticks measured fabric, lumber, and children's growth charts, but also enforced parental authority when needed. The threat of the yardstick was often enough to correct behavior without actually using it. For Black families in the 1970s, these promotional measuring tools were multifunctional household items that represented both practical utility and parental discipline. These 25 items painted a picture of daily life in Black homes during the 1970s. Each one tells a story about how families lived, what they valued, and what mattered in an era before smartphones, internet, and instant gratification. These objects represented quality, durability, and a pace of life that feels impossibly slow by today's standards. Looking back, it's clear that these items weren't just things. They were markers of a specific moment in time, now preserved only in memory and the occasional attic discovery. Which of these items do you remember from your childhood home?